Greetings everyone! Today we are going to talk about something really important, which is moral education. But before we start our discussion, what is the definition of moral education actually? In order to answer that question, we must first understand what is moral value. Moral values is the standard of behavior. This helps people to differentiate which one is right and which one is wrong. Therefore, moral education is a lesson to teach students about those standards so they can differentiate which one is right and which one is wrong, and they can act based on those standards. Moral lessons can be a part of education along with subjects in schools. But why must schools teach morals to their students? This is simply because schools have responsibilities towards their students. They have 3 responsibilities. Firstly, academic development. This helps students to understand the world around them through subjects like mathematics, language, history, and etc. And then secondly, social development. This helps students to connect with the people around them through communication, discussion, and team projects. And then lastly, character development. This helps students to be an ethical individual and be a good citizen through moral lessons or rules. Now, if you combine these 3, we find that the basic responsibility is to prepare students for their future, whether for their higher studies or for their work life. Now, because schools prepare students for their work life, of course they also prepare students for the job market. Job market is the supply and demand for employment, where employers are looking for workers and job seekers are looking for employment. In the job market, what are the employers looking for in workers? The employers are looking for 2 main things. Firstly, skills. This shows their understanding of their work, how they overcome problems, and how they finish their tasks. And then secondly, attitude or work ethics. This shows how they approach their work and how they interact with other employees or with their supervisors. So skills and attitude. Schools and universities, they usually focus on making their students ready for employment. But here is the problem. They usually only focus on preparing skills and knowledge, neglecting moral education. How can I say that this is a problem? This is a problem because, firstly, we see and we know that employers are looking for both skills and attitude. Employers are not looking for skills or attitude. And then secondly, companies have employee training, which means when employees lack of knowledge or lack skills, the company can give them classes or mentors so they can improve their skills. But then thirdly, the companies do not have classes or mentors on morals or ethics. So when employees lack manners or when they disobey the rules of the companies do not give them classes. What the company do is either fire them or better yet, cut their salary. But those 2 things are something we want to avoid. And therefore, schools must teach moral education to their students. But you might wonder, how must moral education be taught to students? Here is how. Firstly, practical. Because moral education should not only be theoretical, but it should also be practical. This way, students not only know moral values, but they also practice and apply moral values. And then secondly, lead by examples. Because students, they usually learn through what they see from their surroundings. Just like a kid who copies cartoons because that's what they see daily. So if we want our students to have good manners, Therefore, we should also show good manners to them as an example. And then lastly, through school rules. Because rules are not only to regulate their students, but it also to build habits. For example, greeting teachers. It is to build habits for students to be friendly to whoever they meet. Today we learned that moral and manners are something that is really crucial in everyday life and therefore needs to be taught in school. And schools can teach moral education to their students through practices, examples, and rules. Now, before I end my speech, I have a message for all students out there. Guys, listen to me. Believe me that for whatever dream job or whatever dream university you have, being smart and skilled is never enough. If there are other things you need, you know what it is. It is morals and manners. Thank you.